on Kim.
Okay, so before we get to the video, and we're going to do that first, one of the things that I want to stress is that having all of this stuff in place before a disaster hits is super, super crucial. Most of the time, as human beings, we wait and we go into emergency crisis mode at the time that a disaster hits. So you want to make sure that you're prepared. And so we're giving you the information and the tools that you can have for you, for your family, so that you guys are safe in any kind of natural or other types of disaster. So let's start with the video.
We are urging every household to have a ready-to-go kit in case of emergency or if PG&E has to turn off power because of extreme weather conditions. 1. Make sure you have enough water for all family members. Start with 1 gallon of water per person per day. You should plan for a minimum of 3 days. 2. Make sure you have non-perishable food that is easy to prepare and that can last a minimum of 3 days. 3. Have a flashlight and a radio that is battery powered, and don't forget to pack the extra batteries. 4. Have a first aid kit that includes enough supplies to manage minor injuries. 5. Make sure you have a supply of medications and medical items that you might need if you have to leave your house. Finally, make sure you have gas in your car and cash in your wallet. By taking these easy steps, you'll be better prepared should an emergency strike. To learn more ways to prepare for an emergency or power outage, download the full checklist at safetyactioncenter.pge.com.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of those things inside that video. And the sheets, we're gonna go in a little bit different order than the sheets are. So the first thing that we're gonna start with, is this sheet, which is the emergency supply checklist. Okay, so you wanna make sure that you have these things on hand, okay? So it says to stock up on supplies that will last you a week. So you want an entire week's supply for a natural disaster, okay? So you want to have these things that are available, okay? So here we have in the food and water, drinking water. So it tells you that you should have 1 gallon per person per day, okay? So you're going to have about 7 gallons per person in your home for an entire week, okay? Any tools and utensils that you might need. Okay, so you're going to have food that is non-perishable foods, which, how does most non-perishable foods come in? In a can. So if you don't have a can opener, you're going to have a hard time getting to your to your food. So you want to make sure that that's one of the tools or utensils that you have. Okay, any baby food or pet food. So if you have animals, you want to make sure that you have enough food for your cat, your bird, your dog, your fish, whatever it is that you have enough food for an entire week. Okay, if you have children or if you have babies, you want to make sure that you have enough formula for a week. Okay, what are some of the things? Have you guys seen the any of the news coverage from the hurricane? So most of those people trying to prepare for it, when they know that the hurricane is coming, they're going to the stores to buy what? Water. And what happens to a lot of people when they get to the store and the water's out, right? So you want to make sure that you have these things beforehand. Okay, some of the equipment that you need to have. Okay, you want to have a flashlight. Okay, make sure that you're not using candles to light up your home because that could start a fire. So you want to make sure that that's what you're using is flashlights. So what do you need to have in your flashlights in order for your flashlight to work? Batteries. Got to have batteries. So don't just have a flashlight sitting on your shelf with no batteries because it's not going to do you any good. Okay. So radio. So you want to have a battery-powered radio or a hand crank radio. Have you guys ever seen one of those hand crank radios? We used to have them a long, long time ago. In fact, I just ordered one off of Amazon. But they're really cool because if your battery dies, then you have the ability to listen to the radio and have a channel that will tell you what is going on in the disaster. So it's got a little handle, and you just crank it, and it basically charges it long enough so that you can listen to it. So that's what a hand crank weather radio is. Extra batteries. You want to make sure that you have extra batteries on hand in case you have items that need batteries and your battery dies. Okay, mobile phone. Make sure that you have a charger ready to go so that if you need to use your phone to notify people or to get information for whatever the disaster emergency is. Okay, a lot of times there's now we have social media platforms and news stations that have Facebook or whatever, and they're able to provide information that way. Okay, so some health and personal supplies that you should have on hand. Okay, basic first aid kit. And before you leave, I have copies of items that should go inside of a basic first aid kit, and I'll hand those out to you before you guys leave. Okay, blankets and clothing, some activities for children. Okay, super important. They get bored, and so you want to have things that keep them occupied and busy. Okay, any personal documents. Okay, you might want to have like a Ziploc bag or something that you might keep in a secure place that would have like a copy of your ID or a copy of your medical card, something like that that you would keep in a safe place so that you would have access to it if you were not able to grab a hold of your purse or your any items that you may need to take out with you.
And family photos, it says? Or
well, yeah, so if if you're separated from your family and a child gets lost, or you're missing your boyfriend, your parents, your any of that, having a photo of them. And now it's really it's pretty easy. If you have your phone accessible with you, you can also store that information on your phone. You can take pictures of your driver's license and have it in a file on your phone. You can take pictures of your children, your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and have that available on your phone, so that if somebody does come up missing, or if there are important documents that you need, you can have those. Okay, any medication or eyeglasses. Okay, you may need to have that on hand if you have that. I know I've got to have my eyeglasses because I wouldn't be able to see anything, so I need to have at least one pair somewhere that I would be able to see. Okay, any toiletries that you might need to have for a period of a week. Toothbrush, toothpaste, things like that. Okay, do you have cash that's available or a credit card that you can use? Sometimes in a natural disaster, you may not be able to use an ATM or a debit card at a bank if the bank, something has happened. So you want to make sure that you have something like that on hand. And then any other useful items that you can think of that you might need to have available. Okay, so that is your emergency supply kit checklist. Okay, so the next page that we're going to go to says what to do in a power outage. Okay, can you guys go to that one? Perfect. Okay, so build an emergency kit. So this is your emergency kit. We just went through that. That's what you need to look at. Make a family and communications plan. Okay, what would that mean? What would that look like?
like how you talk to each other?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
meeting up somewhere?
Yep.
Or like for us, so I have my stepson, so they live 50-50, so that would be something we'd have to figure out a way we can contact them if there's no
Right.
like electricity and stuff like that.
Perfect. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have that. If you have children and your children are in school, make sure that there's a way to communicate how you're going to pick them up, where you're going to meet. Same thing with family members. Any family members need to have a meeting spot. If you have a fire or an earthquake and you are not able to go to your home, you need to make sure that you have a place to meet. Okay, so there may be communication via talking on the phone may be down, so you need to make sure that you have that set in place before a disaster hits. Okay. So it says if you know of a rolling power outage. Now I know that PG&E talks about doing this sometimes when the weather is really, really hot. They're going to do mandatory, electricity shutoffs. So I don't know that we've had one yet or not. But make sure that
no AC though.
yeah, I know.
When it's really hot.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
you want to make sure that you've got containers of water, things like that you would have accessible. One of the great things that you can do is some of those items you can put in your freezer, and you leave them in your freezer. So then if you have like a frozen bottle of water, that's going to last you a long time, because once you take it out, it'll take a while for it to start to defrost, but you will be able to have it for a period of time. And most of those are in like short power outages, they're not going to shut your electricity off for more than a few hours. So. Okay. So during the power outage, what are some ways that the power can go out?
Car accidents, minor hits that has happened in our area.
Right? Car accident can hit a transformer pole and it takes out an entire neighborhood. Weather. What else?
I'm not sure.
You don't pay your bill.
Oh yeah.
That could be one, right?
obvious one.
We could have a severe storm that can take out the power in specific areas. So those are some of the ways that you can have a power outage. So one of the things that they say not to do is do not open your refrigerator or your freezer unless you have to, because you want to make sure that your perishable foods are going to last as long as you need them to last during an outage. The more you open and shut your refrigerator door or your freezer, the more warm air gets in and the quicker it's going to defrost or get cold, okay? Leave one light on in your house so that you will be able to see when the power comes back on, okay? Sometimes if you have a oven that has a clock on it or something like that, that will pop back up when the PG&E comes back on. It's kind of fun when you have all the lights on and you don't realize that all the lights are on, and you go to bed, your PG&E is out, and then it comes back on and all the lights in your house pop back up. So use flashlights, not candles. Again, candles can be a fire hazard, so you want to make sure that you stay away from from candles. So if it's hot outside, you want to make sure that you're staying in the lowest level of your home or your apartment, or if you're in a 2-story apartment, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you stay on the lowest level, because the lower levels stay cooler longer. So that will help you stay cooler. Wear light clothing, light color clothing, and drink plenty of water so you don't get dehydrated, okay? If it's cold outside, you're going to kind of do the opposite. You're going to wear warm layers, and so that you can keep yourself warm without having a source of heat in your house. Don't use your gas stove for heat, okay? That can be a fire hazard, so you don't want to do that. Okay, it could be a fire hazard, and the fumes are very dangerous to breathe in. Okay, so we've got before, during, and after. So you don't want to eat any food in your refrigerator if the power has been out for more than a day. Your meats are going to spoil, cheeses, dairies, all that kind of stuff, and could potentially make you sick. So you want to make sure that you're not eating any of that. Okay, if you've got milk in there, don't give it to your children, because it could give them some sickness.
Kim?
Yes.
So for like that, I know how you said like sometimes it's out just for a few hours. With like milk and stuff, is that fine? Like, because if we kept it closed, could we still use it?
Yes.
Or give it to them?
So I'm talking about a period of 24 hours
Okay.
or more. So once you hit that 24-hour period, it has warmed up enough to where it could be causing some bacteria in the foods or dairy products that are in. Because remember, whatever you have in a cabinet or a pantry is going to be non-perishable food items. The items that you have in your refrigerator are going to be perishable. So you want to make sure that you're really careful with the perishable food items. And my rule is, if you are ever in doubt, I mean, like my kids will come in and go, "Mom, smell the milk." I'm like, if I have to smell the milk, toss it. I'm not smelling the milk. Right? So if in doubt, toss it out. Don't take a chance with spoiled food. Okay? Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to is a home fire.
Good class, though.
Okay, so it's a home fire. So what you want to make sure that you're doing is to create a fire escape plan and practice it. Okay, so practice it twice a year. And the reason why, I know it sounds silly, and it sounds very, if you feel silly when you're doing a practice drill and nothing happens. When our kids were small, we used to do practice earthquake drills, and we would sometimes do them like after the kids had gone to sleep. And everybody gets in quite a panic, but it's a good thing to do because when you start doing that, it creates memory in your brain so that when the actual disaster or fire or whatever it is, whenever that hits, you're ready. You don't even have to think about it. You're ready to go. You're ready to enact what you've already put inside of your brain. Okay, so make sure that you have smoke alarms in every bedroom and on every floor of your house. Okay, so you want, even if your bedrooms are upstairs and your kitchen or your living room is downstairs, make sure that you have one on every floor, because if it starts down on the bottom floor, it's going to take a little bit before you recognize on the top floor that there is a fire. Okay, I don't know why it says remind your parents, but just you can tell your kids, you know, if you have children, to remind you. But make sure that you're testing those smoke alarms. A lot of them now are kind of hardwired into your house, and they'll have a green light on it so that you know it's ready to go. A lot of them go through a beeping sequence when the battery's low or it needs the battery needs to be replaced. Don't let that go for days and days and days. I mean, you know that it needs to be replaced. Replace that battery. Okay. Find ways that you could get out of your house or your apartment during a fire. Okay, so make sure that you know where you're going to get out of it before the fire hits. Okay, if you have a 2-story, if you're in a second story in an apartment or second story of a house, is there a ladder to get out of the window if you need to get out of a window? A lot of places you can buy those, you know, those you see them in the cartoons, you know, where they throw out the roll down ladder down the window. You can get those. You can have a little roll up ladder that you can toss out the window if you need to have that. Okay. Practice feeling your way out of the house with your eyes closed. Because the fires and hot fires produce, what color is the smoke?
Red, black.
Black. So you have black smoke, which makes it almost impossible to see getting out. So you need to practice getting out of a room or out of your house with your eyes closed so that you can feel around you and know where you're at so that you can get out of the house safely. Okay, sleep with your bedroom door closed. Now, why would you do that?
If it's a fire, so it doesn't go in your room.
Yep, it prevents it from spreading faster. So you may start to see the smoke coming in underneath the door. So then you will have the ability to see that there is a fire and it is, you know, outside your bedroom, but it will prevent the fire from coming in quicker without the door closed. Okay? All right. So once a fire has already started, these are some of the things that you need to do. So you need to drop down to the ground, be really, really low to the ground, because smoke rises. So the smoke is going to rise up higher than it is down below. So you'll be able to stay away from the smoke, smelling the smoke, and get down on the ground and crawl your way out of the house to an exit. Okay. All the deadly gases also collect up at the ceiling. So you want to make sure that you're staying away from that so that you're not breathing that in. Okay. Before you see smoke, hopefully you're going to hear your smoke detector go off. So if you hear your smoke detector go off and you don't see any smoke, don't ignore it. Okay? Don't ignore that. You need to make sure and go look around, see if there's a fire somewhere. We had a house fire, and our smoke detectors did not go off. And so now, this was many, 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 many years ago. I do not know if our batteries were current or why it didn't go off. But we started to see, just like a haze in the house, above the ceiling. And then we just started thinking our mind was playing tricks on us, because we went outside, we looked at the roof. Anyway, we had a slow burning attic fire. And so the smoke was coming in very, very slowly, a little bit. And the fireman, when he came to the house, had said that had we gone to bed, we probably would have died from smoke inhalation because of how slowly it was coming in. And by 2:30 in the morning, our house would have been burned to the ground. So it's not a joke. You have to pay attention. If something doesn't look right or smell right, make sure that you get it checked out, okay? So if smoke is blocking the door, that's the other thing I talked about the window. So if you're on second story, make sure that you have a ladder going out your window. If you're on a single story, make sure that that window is able to open. You want to be able to get in and out of that window if you need to. If you're able to go out your door, one of the first things that you need to do before you open that door is feel the door for heat. If your door is extremely hot, that means the fire is right outside your door. Your door handle is usually made out of what kind of material? Metal. So metal is going to get really, really hot. So if you can't open your door because of the heat on your doorknob, then don't go out your door. Leave that door shut and go out your alternative route. Yes.
So that's what worries me, because we have kids. So like, because you said keep the door closed and stuff. What would you do if they're like in the other room?
Well, I mean,
or is that just
when I had young children, I slept with my door open because I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to, that would be optimal case to keep your door shut. If you have children sleeping in another room, I wouldn't sleep with my door shut just because you're not going to be able to hear them. You're not going to be able to get to them quickly. It's also another reason why it's super important. If you have young children that are able to help themselves out, make sure that they practice opening a window and getting out. If there's a screen on there, how do I get the screen off? Right? Okay. So they need to know how to do that, because you may be in a position where you can't get to them. Right? So that could happen. So you need to make sure that they have the ability to do that. Okay? So if you've got to get out your window, go around the outside of the house to get to the other window, that may be something that you need to do as well. So it just depends on what the circumstances are. Okay?
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, so the other thing is, don't hide from the firefighter. So if you're in your home, right, during a fire and you can't get out, make sure that they know where you are. Make noise, bang on things. Don't be quiet. They're there to put the fire out. They're there to rescue you if you're inside the house. Some of the things that I have seen that I actually think are really quiet, you used to think, what are those for? But sometimes out on the front window, on the entry to your house, they make these stickers that say that there's children in the home or pets in the home, right? Mm-hmm. So that way, if there is a fire, the firemen know that they are potentially looking for small children and pets that might be in the home. So that's also a good idea if you...
Where can you get those, you know?
You can... Online. Nowadays, you can about get anything online. Go to Amazon.
Even if you have like a beware dog, like you still know that you have a dog.
Yeah. Perfect. That's
all beware of children.
That's another way. So if you have children and they're not familiar with firemen or paramedics or policemen, show them pictures of them. Let them know that if anything ever happens, that they're there to help you, right? So if they show up at your house, if the firemen show up, they're there to help you. They're not there, to be scary or, to cause you harm. Now, imagine if you've ever seen a picture of a fireman in their full gear and their big face thing on, okay, they can look a little scary. So make sure that you're showing them pictures of that. If you see them coming in during a fire, they're there to help you. They're there to get you, okay? So has everybody heard of stop, drop, and roll? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's if you have fire on your clothing. Okay, so you want to make sure that you drop to the ground and you roll until the fire is out. Okay, so after a fire, very, very important, do not go back into the building until the firemen tell you that it's safe. Okay, so it can be very, very dangerous depending on how bad the fire is, but don't go back in until they tell you that that it is safe. Okay, any questions on that? No? Okay, so we're gonna go to the last sheet, which looks like this. Okay, so this is earthquake. Okay, so how many of you felt the earthquake that we had a couple months ago? Yeah, everybody did? Were you scared?
Yeah, because I was outside.
You were?
We were in a driveway and I was by the motorhome. And there's like, you just like, what you do is just get to the ground because like there's nothing you can hide.
Right.
But they say it's safer outside though, right?
It can be. Yeah, it can
Because
be.
there's nothing more to fall on.
Yeah. Yep. So natural disasters. We've been hearing about the hurricanes over on the East Coast, and they get them, you know, in the Gulf, and tornadoes in the Midwest. There's a lot of natural disasters that happen. So the natural disasters most likely that we are going to experience in Kern County are earthquakes and fires. So California is prone to getting a lot of fires just because of limited rain, dry terrain. There's a lot of fires that we have. So those are going to be the two natural disasters that we would experience here. So earthquakes. One of the crazy things about earthquakes is you don't know when they're going to hit, right? We knew for weeks that the hurricane was going to hit the East Coast, and we don't get any warning. It happens, and it hits sometimes very, very hard, and sometimes it's very, very mild. Okay, so it's super important to be prepared for it, because more than likely in your lifetime you will experience another earthquake. Okay, that's just the way it is. That's where we live, and we're going to experience this. Okay, so some of the things that you can do to prepare yourself for an earthquake to prevent injury from happening inside of your home is make sure that the items in your home are secure. Right? So heavy items, if you have heavy bookshelves, things that are on the wall, they often make these anchors that will anchor the top of a large bookshelf or something like that to the wall, so it prevents it from falling down. Okay. One of the things that you should not do is place a very, very heavy item that is not secure to the wall over your bed, right? Because that's going to fall off the wall and land right on top of you. So you want to make sure that you're not doing that. Okay. Any items that you might have on a shelf, you might want to put the heavier items down towards the bottom so they don't have a long way to fall. Okay. So you need to create an emergency plan that accounts for every family member in your home, including your pets. Okay, so I'm going to give you a website that you can go to and do a little bit of your own research on it that has some fantastic tools and kits for you on that. So I'll tell you, maybe you can pull it up here in a minute. Okay, so your meeting place, where you're going to go if you cannot go back home, all that kind of stuff is what you need to make sure that you have in plan. Okay, you're going to assemble an emergency kit with enough supplies to last. This says 3 days. It should be up to a week, because you never know how long you're going to be without some of those items. So in the case of a very, very large earthquake and the roads are damaged, supplies are not going to be able to come into your city or into your state. So you need to make sure that you've got a lot of that ready to go. Okay. So what to do when an earthquake hits. So the first thing that you need to do when an earthquake hits is drop. Drop to your hands and knees no matter where you are. Okay. Cover. So drop and cover. So you're going to cover your head, cover the parts of your body that are going to cause the most amount of damage, right? So if your arm gets smashed, you're still going to be able to get up and move around and do all that. Now, if your head gets smashed, well, that might be the end of you, right? So you want to make sure that you got your head covered. And if you have a small child, protect the small child. You get on top of them while you're covering your head. So make sure that you're able to protect them in that way. If you have a large table or a desk, something like that near you, get underneath that. Okay, that's going to provide you a great amount of protection. Okay, so then you're going to hold on. So drop, cover, and hold on. One of the earthquakes that we had lasted quite a while, right? And 30 seconds in an earthquake seems like an eternity. It feels like it's never going to end. So 30 seconds when you're doing whatever goes by super, super fast. But when you're in the middle of an earthquake, it feels like an hour. It feels like a very, very long time. So you want to make sure that you hold on until the shaking stops. Don't let go until everything has stopped moving. And then you can look around to see if you can safely and securely get out, okay? So if you get up and start moving around, you're at risk for any debris or household items to fall on top of you, okay? If you're inside, stay inside, okay? Don't attempt to run through your home to get outside. Just stay inside, locate a secure place where you can go inside your home to be safe, okay? If you're in bed, curl up, put a pillow over your head, and ride it out, okay? If you cannot get underneath the table, okay? Make sure that that's what you're gonna do. Yeah.
What about under the bed? Or is that kind of a bad idea?
Well, I don't know most people that can fit underneath their bed.
We can because we have a good amount of space.
Do you?
But it's just like a spring, like it's a metal and then it has the springs on the bottom and then our box top and the bed.
Yeah,
Might not be good.
I don't know. That might be something you can look up to see if that's. I wouldn't consider it as sturdy as, you know, as a table, and the bed. Depending on, I mean, mattresses are pretty heavy, so if it caves in, it might be very difficult to remove that from on top of you. Yeah, so.
Not a good idea then.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So if you're outside, stay outside. Don't try to run inside a building, okay? Make sure that you're staying away from power lines and buildings, okay? So you want to go out into an open area, okay? Maybe that's the middle of the street, you know, if that's safe to do that. But don't stand up next to the building or next to power lines where the power lines might fall on you, okay? If you're in a vehicle, stop your car, pull over, and wait for the earthquake to stop. Okay, and as soon as the earthquake stops, view your area to see if it's safe to drive. If it's not safe to drive, then hopefully you have a phone or something that you can call and let somebody know where you are so that you can get out of that situation. Okay. After the shaking stops, look to move where it's safer, okay? So if you have an earthquake and you've got significant damage in your house, wait until the earthquake is stopped and then go outside and call and wait for help, okay? If you smell gas, make sure that you exit the building immediately, okay? Sometimes you might know where your gas shutoff is. I don't know how they do that in apartments and things like that if you have additional or your own gas shutoff valve, or if you're in a rental house or a home, make sure that you know where that gas shutoff is because you want to prevent any further gas from leaking into your home. That is one of the major causes of fires in an earthquake is the gas lines break. And so then once the gas lines break and the gas starts emitting, then a fire can break out. So you want to make sure that you get away from that. Okay, use stairs, not elevators. So if you're in a building that has an elevator, you do not want to get in the elevator. If the elevator gets stuck or is damaged, maybe it's fine on the floor that you're at, but down below it could be damaged and you don't want to get stuck on an elevator. Okay, so don't enter a damaged building. And if you're in a vehicle, make sure that you're avoiding bridges or ramps that may have been damaged, okay? So years ago, you guys probably weren't even born, there was a major earthquake in the Oakland, San Francisco area, and it took out all the bridges that were there. So, or the Oakland Bridge. There was damage to all the bridges, but the Oakland Bridge was completely, It's 2-story bridge. The top story fell onto the bottom story, and
2 stories where you drive on each?
yeah. So one went one way and the other one went the other way, but the whole top part fell down onto
people got hurt.
Well, a lot of people died. So make sure that you are avoiding all of those things. Okay. So there was a earthquake in Northridge, and same thing happened on a freeway. A big section of the freeway fell out, and cars drove off of the freeway because a big section of the ramp was missing. So make sure that you're not driving anywhere until you know that it's safe to do so. Okay. So stay safe after an earthquake. What happens after earthquakes? Aftershocks. So sometimes the aftershocks can be just as powerful as the actual earthquake. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're staying safe. Okay, so you're going to follow the same things that you did during the earthquake, right? You're going to drop, cover, and hold on each time you're feeling an aftershock. Okay. Make sure you're checking yourself for any injuries, if anything fell, if you got hurt trying to, find a safe place. Make sure that you're checking yourself for injuries so you can help yourself and help others that are around you. Okay, you want to check the building for damage. Okay, if you come outside, everything looks fine. Make sure that you're walking around, that there's no major damage to the building that you're in. Okay. Look for small fires. If there was a crack in the gas pipe and a fire started, you want to make sure that you have the ability to put that fire out. So you want to make sure that if you are in your home, that you have a fire extinguisher accessible. Do you guys all have fire extinguishers where you live? Yeah.
Well, we live in apartments. Maybe we should probably get our own, because there's one on each side. So 4 apartments share one.
Yeah, they make small ones that you can just keep underneath your sink.
Okay, that's what
and you want to make sure that the ones that are outside your apartment, that they are tested. So like the fire extinguishers that we have here, they come by like once a year and they test, the fire department tests them.
Oh, and actually use them?
They have a way to test them. I don't know how they do it, but they come by and they know where our fire extinguishers are, and they test them to make sure that they're working properly.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you don't have one inside your home, just go get a small one and keep it underneath your kitchen sink. Keep it, kitchen's the best place because you're more apt to have a fire in the kitchen. Right. So it's a good thing to have on hand so that you can put a small fire out immediately. Okay. Make sure you're listening to the radio for any important updates on the disaster, on the earthquake, to find out, how widespread is it? Is it safe to go outside? What are the emergency people telling me to do? Are they telling me to stay inside? Are they telling me to relocate? Are they telling me to go, here? If there's significant damage, you may be able to find out where you can get additional supplies. Maybe they've got somebody bringing in water if you need water. So you want to make sure that you have the ability to listen to the radio and find out what's going on around you. Okay, and then when cleaning up afterwards, make sure that you're wearing protective gear. Okay, all right, so have a plan. It's super important to make sure you have a plan in place. Like I said at the very beginning, most of the time we try to come up with the plan after something's already happened. Right. Okay, so it may be another 10 years before we experience another earthquake, but be prepared. Be ready for it to happen. Okay, do you have a ready-to-go bag with non-perishable food, gallon of water per person, medications, flashlights, and batteries? Okay, so that's your emergency supply kit list that we gave to you. Okay, have you mapped out a location for your family, your roommates, your children to go to a secondary location? Okay, where's your secondary location? Okay, so you need to make sure that you've got that. Do you have a personal safety plan for all members of your family, including your pets? And one of the things that we'll show you on this website is how to do a personal safety plan. Okay, are your phones charged? Make sure that you've got your phones charged so that you're ready to go and you have the ability to have your phones usable for a long and extended period of time. Okay, so any questions on any of that?
Oh, you said a website for the personal safety plan?
Yes, so we're going to go to that. So, Steph, go to, and you guys want to write this down because this will be a good website for you to go to have some forms and additional kits and tools for you guys in case of an emergency. So it's ready.gov/make-a-plan.
Really?
So ready.gov/make-a-plan.
We go back. Are we on?
Oh,
Try-
maybe try Chrome.
That could be it too. I don't know.
That is so annoying.
Maybe try Google Chrome.
Okay, ready? What was it?
ready.gov/make-a-plan.
What was it?
Make-a-plan.
Oh, you put. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Looks like
Oops.
this. Great.
Okay. There it goes.
There we go.
Okay, so
Oh, it's
scroll.
Google Chrome.
Scroll. Okay, so this gives you some additional items that you can look at. Okay, how can I receive emergency alerts and warnings? What's my shelter plan? What's my evacuation route? Family household communication plan. So just click on that real quick. What's my time?
It's 10:45. You're good.
Okay. Will this let you click on it?
I think it just did. It says make a plan. Make a plan today.
Okay, so scroll, go ahead. Okay, so that. I wonder why it's not going. Okay,
Emergency plan for parents.
so yeah, so this is one. So click on that one. So these you can kind of tailor to what it is that you have. If you don't have children or
Cool. You can print it
you know,
out.
different things like this. So this is stuff that you can print out. So go to, click on that. This is just to give you guys some other things that you can do. Okay, so keep going. I don't know if this is the one that has the actual sheet on it. Okay, so all this is doing is giving you like a checklist of things that you should already have in place or discuss with your family. Okay, go back.
You could use that as a guide to
You
type
can.
up your own notes.
You could have a file, a little binder that's your emergency disaster kit, right? Your emergency disaster plan that you're going over and
make one.
checking on. So which one did we, okay, do the family communication fillable card. So this was one I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh,
So you can go in here and you can put this information in, right? So information that you might need that might be good for other people to have, so that you know,
give it to your family too, or something.
right? So that your family might have it in case of an emergency. If you have an out-of-town contact, right?
That's kind of what Tay's doing. They have a thing like that. So like if you ever need to like have an emergency response list, they
Mhm.
already have your information
Yep.
ready for you.
Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so that's something that you can go in and tailor
Cool.
to.
And there might even be more online. Go on Google or something. Have a layout.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
there's tons of them. So this is Fema, which is basically the the national plan for any type of emergency. Okay, go back one and scroll down. So practice. We talked about that.
Plan for kids.
Okay, so
plan
keep
for
scrolling. This is
computers.
what you guys can look at. Okay, right there. Okay, so see how you have all of this?
Mhm.
So make sure that you're going in there and you're looking at that. What do I need to know as a pet owner? Right? What kind of things do I need to know If I have a fire, an earthquake, what do I do with my pets? Do you have a carrier? What is it that you need? Do you have a leash? Does your animal have tags in case they get out and take off and they're able to be located and reunited with their owners? So this gives you the ability to go in and tailor it to your own personal needs. If you're a single person, if you're a married person, if you have children, whatever it is, you can go in here and you can check all of these things in order to safely make it out of a fire, an earthquake, or whatever disaster that we would have. So more than likely wouldn't have a flood. We don't get enough.
They said this might just be a rumor, if
The
the
dam.
earthquake, the
The
dam,
one if the sirens
big
go
enough.
off?
They would, yeah, they would. But it wouldn't hit all of Bakersfield.
It said
so you have to be
downtown,
in
I think.
the lower areas that you would have to
East
be in.
Bakersfield
Yeah, my
first,
family
'cause
said,
it's closest.
let's go to my grandpa's house, I guess, because supposedly where he lives, it wouldn't hit. I don't know if that's true, but
Yeah, it may or it may not. So, so click on this one. So sometimes we don't account for having
Protect
all of-
critical documents.
all of our important documents. So what would our important documents be?
birth certificate, ID,
Social Security card,
medical card.
passports. Yeah, all of those things. Okay, so so if you have the means,
Financial
Card
and legal
paperwork.
What
Yeah.
about your bank statements? Or not a bank
well,
statement, but
that's
like
a lot of
the
that
account
stuff you
number
can
written
get.
down?
Yeah, you can get a lot of that stuff online now. But if you have the ability to have a fireproof safe, and I know that they make them very small now, so they're not big. They're small and they're fireproof.
Expensive.
And they're probably not. I mean, I'm sure that there's a
$100 or
range
something.
depending on how large it is. And that is a place that you could keep important documents, things like that, that if you were to have a fire and lose all of that, it would take a significant, I mean, if you've ever lost your social security card, it takes a while to get it replaced.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that would give you the ability to protect it during a fire. So
Might be something.
You
to
can
look
also
into.
check with your bank. Like I have a safe with my bank, and they actually offered it for free.
Oh,
so
really?
that's why I have all my.
How do you
important
access it?
documents.
You just go over there?
Yeah, I go over there. I mean, obviously it's during bank hours, but I have only my very important documents, and they're like passports, birth
Huh.
certificates.
I want that. Might be something I want to
So
do
I have
too.
copies at home.
yeah, yep,
Hmm.
yeah.
I'll have to do that.
That's a good idea. So this gives you the list of some things that would be important to have in a secure place if you were to have a disaster. So go back out of that one step. Okay, so any of those look important to you? Anybody want to see any of those? Which ones look?
For kids? Oh, well, it's probably
Okay,
the
go
same stuff.
ahead and
huh?
go to that one. Emergency plan for kids. Okay, so this is probably something that you can go through with
Kids games.
with young kids about how so that they
Oh,
can
so they understand
so
it.
that they understand what the emergency is and how to do that, right? So you want, if you have kids that are old enough, you want to make sure that they can do this on their own, because if something happens to the adults in the home during the emergency, you want to make sure that they have the ability to do what they need to do. So it's
Yeah.
important to teach them those things. Okay. Anything else you guys want to look at on that?
Let's look at I thought the financial first aid kit looked interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what that is.
Financial first aid kit. Oh, maybe like cash and stuff.
Your
Mhm.
bank cards.
Because they always say keep cash because the bank, something can happen in the bank or electricity or.
That's a long one though.
I know.
Hello.
It's 43 pages. Man, they're not
How simple
kidding
is that?
around. Okay, safeguard.
Yeah, so that's something if you're interested in that to go
Oh,
back
checklist.
and look.
There's a
There's
checklist.
Oh, it was a checklist.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So it's basically going to tell you, not all of it
Right
is going
after
to
this.
apply to all of us. So
Checklist.
whatever applies to you, you need to make sure that you're
Household identification.
considering this.
What's
That
so
is
you
different.
think of the lease on your house is really that important
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
like an emergency
Here's a little check.
Yeah,
Like,
but again, like a lot of those things I told, like the important documents, you can also have a file on your phone that has that information that you would be able to retrieve.
the main thing, Social Security card, medical card,
Yeah.
stuff like that's real
Yeah, but you need to make sure that you're careful with your phone. So
Yeah.
you don't want to have
Oh, and emotional support.
important information on your phone
Just
if you're not good with keeping your phone secure. So this just kind of going through. Which one are you on now?
The
I'm
same
still
one.
on the.
Financial.
Okay.
Right here it says an emotional support letter about pets.
What?
So like my boyfriend's dog.
Oh,
she's
okay. If it's an emotional, got it. If it's an emotional support
Oh,
pets.
yeah.
Like a therapy pet.
Like, what does that mean?
I'm
If
sure
it
that's
was
probably
right for
different.
pets, right? Gotcha.
They're like dear,
I don't know.
dear spot.
Dear Spot. Dear Shelter. This is Spot.
Yeah.
But it means like therapy.
Yeah, if they're an
dogs.
emotional support dog. Gotcha.
That's funny.
Well, there's definitely a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
So one of the things that is really important is just listening to announcements about, if especially if it's an earthquake, so that you know where to go, what to do if it is a major earthquake. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have those things available to you because the entire grid could be down. You may not even have access to internet, your phones.
Yeah, that's what I worry about.
All of those types of things that we take for granted that we can use every day. So make sure that you've got familiarity with a lot of these things so that you can be prepared in the event of a disaster. Okay. Any questions?
Is it last one? Sorry, guys.
No, you're fine.
Is it possible? Because someone said they had like a phone line at their house that it couldn't go out.
Like a landline?
Yeah, but can't landlines get shut off too?
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah,
Because I thought that was weird.
anything that is connected,
Pretty much anything.
hardwired, can fail. So PG&E is hardwired.
What do you
right?
suggest
So
if we don't have like phones and landlines and stuff like that? Just
if you
go
don't
off
have
the plan
a mobile phone, or
Yeah.
well, that's why that
if it gets shut off.
that plan, your family plan, is so important, because if you don't have, let's say we had a major earthquake right now,
Yeah.
right? So you would need to figure out where do I go? Where are we meeting? Where am I able to connect with all of my people? So whoever your people are, right? So that's why it's important to have a secondary meeting spot, okay? It's not even bad to have a third meeting spot, right? In case the second meeting spot is not accessible. Okay, but it's super important to make sure that you have at least one emergency meeting spot so that you know where everybody is going to be if you do not have the ability to communicate with anybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, thank
This
you so
was
much,
very
Kim.
helpful.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
Here's this. I'll get these guys to you. This is a first aid kit, and even most places, Rite Aid, CVS,
They have them.
most places like that carry a basic first aid kit, and even if it's not a fire or an earthquake, if you're traveling or if you're just driving around and something happens,
Yeah, I have a little one in the car.
yeah, it's really important. I have one in my car, I have one at home, so it's just important to make sure that you've got one that's accessible.
And try not to use it unless it's an emergency, right?
Well, and if you use it, make sure that you're
Replace it.
restocking it
And
once you've taken something out of it.
We went to Vegas and I've told Stephanie about this. We broke down and we had 7 adults and 2 dogs with us. So it was just like we had good things because like we were stuck for a while and like nowhere.
Yeah. So that,
Jeez.
I mean, that could be a disaster.
Yeah.
Right? That can be
No
a
food,
disaster.
no
If
water
you're stuck in
and
we've broken down in the middle of the desert between here and Vegas.
Oh.
And there's
Horrible.
And so if you don't have enough water, if you don't have,
water in
snacks
the
or
car
food
and
or
stuff.
anything like that, So super important that even when you're traveling, and because a disaster is something you're not expecting,
Right.
Nobody says, oh, well, my car's going to break down between here and Vegas for for 10 hours, right? So that's what a disaster is. That's what, an emergency is something that you are not prepared for, right? You don't expect it to happen. So if you knew your car was going to break down, you probably wouldn't have gone. So we don't do things knowing that something is going to happen, but we do things and we prepare for the worst, right? We prepare for something happening.
Yeah.
So
maybe
in case it does,
Right.
you're not completely stuck, right?
Might be a good idea to have something in your car too, then, like snacks or something and water.
Water.
A couple gallons of
Yeah.
water.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well,
Super important.
I got a lot of stuff to do then.
Thank you.
Really
Kim.
is.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.